Shalom. First and foremost, gonna give all glory, honor, praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Hakodash. Double honors to the apostle and elders of Great Millstone. Alright, just finna get into this quick lesson, alright, on how Esau, your judgment, is coming. Alright, and when I say Esau, I'm talking about the so-called white people. Alright. Who are the rulers of the earth at the moment, but according to Psalm 75, it's about to be turned around, So this is Malachi 1:4, whereas Edom says, we are impoverished. And, this happened, during the time of the Dark Ages, I believe, man, I gotta go back into this book that I was reading, but it basically talks about, goes into the history of, the real history of the so-called Negroes, all right, goes into the history of Esau, the so-called white man, all right, and I believe it was called, the crazies or the madmen, something like around, one of them words, because they were such in the lowest state, they'll come, they'll come to war with you, with their feet, just out, just naked, Job said he wouldn't even let them, be with their dogs, But yeah, and then in that estate that they was in back then, they was, through. While the so-called Negroes, they was, in a royal state, in the time of the Dark Ages, But it says we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. So, the Renaissance, the rebirth of, Esau, It says, but we will return and build the desolate places, all right? And they're building, they have been building since, the 1492, around there. Christopher Columbus came over here, all right? And dogged out, the Northern Kingdom, all right? And ever since then, it's been on, Look at America, all right? Look what America has produced, throughout the whole world, Their philosophy, goddamn, Salakia. Their ideology, the ways of life, are actual, companies, all right, like McDonald's and shit, So they're up right now, But this is what the Lord said. Thus said the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. And they shall call them the border of wickedness. All right, so the Lord said they shall build, but he's going to throw down. All right, and we're coming into that time, all right, where the Lord is about to throw down Esau, the so-called white man, his kingdom. All right, how is he going to do that? By nuclear missiles, all right? America is about to be destroyed by nuclear missiles, The people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. So see, the Lord has indignation. Indignation means righteous anger, all right? Forever, all right? So that means they're still here. The Edomites are still here, all right? You think the Lord just got a hatred for people and they're just, just gone away? The Lord wouldn't waste his time like that, So they're still here, And the Lord is about to, we're in the time of their judgment. All right, the Lord is about to repay them for everything they have done throughout all of history, I'm gonna get Salakia. I don't know how I just did that. Baruch 3, think it's 4 actually. Yeah. Root 4 in verse 31. Miserable are they that afflicted thee, and rejoiced at thy fall. Miserable are the cities which thy children served. And you go into Root 4 chapter, it talks about, us, basically it talks about, the times that we're in right now. It talks about, us coming back to Yahweh Shema Shah. It's talking about here in America, all right? But yeah, this is the Lord comforting us, while at the same time, telling us that, hey, I'm going to read it again. Verse 31. Miserable are they that afflicted thee, and rejoiced at thy fall. Miserable are the cities which thy children served. And then haven't we served throughout all of United States, all right? From the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Miserable is she that received thy sons, for as she rejoiced at thy ruin, and was glad of thy fall. Yep. They Esau, so-called white man, kept us such, at a lower state, through music, food, the things that they told us, the lies that they, gave us, it made us fall to the point where they started celebrating, like, oh, we got them, the Lord, the Lord is with us, But guess what? It's for your detriment, It's just prophecy, It was just prophecy that this all had to happen, As the scriptures say, the last shall be first and the first shall be last. All right? For as she rejoiced at thy ruin and was glad of thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation. Yep. Crying. All right? Esau, so-called white men, when they see America being destroyed, about to be destroyed, hey, they're going to cry. All right? They're going to grieve. All right? They're going to see that, oh, shit, the Lord is against us, As the scripture say, I believe it's Jeremiah 50 or 51, talks about how the hands of the king is going to, be feeble, Yeah, I'm going to get it real quick. Slocky. Jeremiah 50 and verse 43. The king of Babylon hath heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble, and anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in travail. So see, they're going to grieve, all right, to the point. The king of Babylon. Who's the king of Babylon? The presidents, And that could be Donald Trump, Lord willing, They see them missiles start shooting off and they can't do nothing about it. They're going to grieve, Verse 34, for I will take away the rejoicing of her great multitude, and her pride shall be turned into mourning. Yep, pride, all right? Because Esau, he has a God complex, They don't think that, they think themselves to be as Yahweh Shema Shah, That pride is going to be turned into mourning, all right? For fire shall come upon her from the everlasting, long to endure, and she shall be inhabited of devils for a great time. So we know this is talking about, America. Why? It just said, for fire shall come upon her from the everlasting. Yep. It says shall be inhabited. Here, I'm starting in Jeremiah 50 and verse, it talks, Jeremiah 50 goes into Babylon the Great, You read into it, it obviously is not talking about, ancient Babylon. Now it's talking about now, all right? But this Jeremiah 50 and verse 35, a sword is upon the Chaldeans, said the Lord, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. A sword is upon their horses, and upon their chariots, and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her. They shall become as woman. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be robbed. A drought is upon her water. And what does that sword represent? That represents the nuclear missiles. All right? You know, scriptures talk about my sword shall be bathed in Idumea. You know? All right? It says a drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up. So yeah, it's going into that basically here in Babylon the Great, everything is about to be consumed. You know, from the wicked, people to, the cars, the army. All right, whatever. All right, whatever here in Babylon is going to be destroyed. For it is the land of graven images, and they are mad upon their idols. Therefore the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the island shall dwell there, and the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. So see, this is what you should be expecting. This is what we're expecting. We can't wait for this day, or Esau's pride to come down, all right? For them nuclear missiles to hit Babylon the Great, all right? Take this bitch down, all right? And after that, it ain't gonna be inhabited no more by humans, all right? But it's gonna be inhabited by, as the scriptures say, doleful creatures, Yeah, I'm gonna end it off on this. Lamentations 4, verse 21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked. So see? So right now, it's the time of rejoicing and being glad for, for you so-called the white nation, because right now you're in rulership. All right, so just live it up, basically. All right, just live it up, Max out your credit cards, go ball out, all right? Because, hey, you got little time, because, hey, after this, you're going to be 8,000 years of hardcore slavery, all right? The slavery is going to consist of you getting whooped, all right, by spiritual powers, all right, by the Lord's anger. That dwellest in the land of Uz, the cup also shall pass through unto thee. The land of Uz just representing, America, The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked. So yeah, that cup, all right, we had to drink that cup, the nation of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. We had to drink that cup. Slavery, all right, being, basically humiliated, tortured, all that. We had to drink of it. We had to go through it. But guess what? You're going to have to go through it too. Double. The punishment of thy iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thy iniquity, O daughter of Edom. So see, the Lord saying that he's not about to take us away into captivity no more. Why? Because, hey, we're going to have new bodies. New bodies are going to, as the scriptures say, the wages of sin of death is death. And in the new bodies, if the law, statutes, and commandments is downloaded in us, and it's going to be, second nature, to do the law, statutes, and commandments, say we can't go off, then the Lord has no reason to, put us in captivity. We can't go into captivity, So we're going to be good. We're not going to be put in captivity no more. All right, but guess what? He will visit thy iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sin. So the Lord's visiting, the sin upon sin that you have committed, all throughout all the world, especially to the nation of Israel, So, hey, expect for Esau, expect you expect for yourself to fall. All right, bloodshed is about to be here in America. All right, and then slavery. All right, so that's pretty much it. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Gonna give all glory and praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem Kakadash. Double honors to the apostle and elders of Great Millstone. All right, shalom.